Welcome to #Wednesdays Weekly, a weekly information session in collaboration with the voluntary sector and public sector partners. Today's session will be delivered by Natasha from the Civil Society Consulting, and that we'll learn all about the loneliness training which is on offer and how you can register. Over to you, Natasha.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you, Hayley. So yes, really good to see you all. I'm excited to chat with you. I have a presentation. I'm just going to share up on the screen to kind of help. Is everyone seeing that okay?
Yeah, we can see that.
Take silence as a yes. So yeah, as you all know, we're here for an information session about a training. So not the training itself, but an information to learn about the training. And I thought I'd start off by letting you know who we are. So I'm Natasha. I'm co-founder of Civil Society Consulting, a not-for-profit. And we want communities to be healthier, more equal, and more cohesive, as I'm sure many of you do too. And we believe that civil society organisations are the key. And we started because we feel strongly that sort of given who we are and all of our experience, the best way for us to channel our or contribute towards health, equality and cohesion is by channeling our support through civil society organisations. And we do this by being a reliable source of excellent support that's either affordable or, in this case, free. So, yeah, as you probably know by the nature of being who you are and working on the things you're working on, loneliness is a public health crisis. It's a very unpleasant, horrible thing to experience. It also causes mental health issues, and it affects how people behave and interact with their surroundings, and it has a direct effect on people's physical health. So it's a real priority. And we're delivering a loneliness training that's interactive, engaging, collaborative. I want to say fun, but that doesn't feel like quite the right word, but certainly not stressful. You learn through stories and discussions, and it's a safe space. Before we start, I thought maybe I shouldn't have shared my screen, but I thought we could just do by a show of hands who's from Tameside and who's from Rochdale, just so I'm aware of who we've got in the room. Is that possible? By putting your hand up on, wait, maybe, is it not letting you do that because I'm sharing screen? Maybe I'll pause on the screen share. So yeah, who's Rochdale and who's Tameside, because they're two loneliness trainings.
Rochdale.
Yeah.
Cool. 3, 4.
Tameside.
So Chantal, Temi, Galaxy S8, Beth and Poppy. Maybe you could use the virtual hand function, or never mind. Anyway, hopefully there's a good mix. Cool. So yeah, those of you that are Rochdale, have a look if you're free on the mornings of the 27th and 28th of April. Those of you that are Tameside, have a look at your diaries and see about Monday the 15th of May in the afternoon and Tuesday the 16th of May in the morning. Don't panic, including Action Together colleagues, if those dates don't work. They're just a kind of starting point, and we're going to send out a poll for all the people that want to do the training, and go for dates that the maximum number of people can go to. So yeah, and as a backup, it's not the end of the world if you're from Rochdale and you go to the one for Tameside. And also there'll be an online training that's a national training that you could participate in if you can't make it on those dates. So yeah, there's quite a lot of partners involved in this project. So I thought I'd just briefly explain. This is a campaign to end loneliness training. It was developed by my team from all of Campaign to End Loneliness's literature and expert knowledge. And we're the ones delivering it rather, but we're delivering it in close partnership with Action Together. And they're participating in the training a bit and also around to pick up on some of the legacy stuff. So potentially there'll be some very exciting ideas that come out of the training, and it's important you've got support for those. And then it's funded by the Know Your Neighbourhood Fund, which is a joint fund between the Department of Culture, Media and Sport, DCMS, and the National Lottery. The course is split with 4 sessions spread out over 2 mornings. The first session's an introduction to loneliness. The second session dives a bit deeper into how loneliness is caused and experienced. Then there's a break, let that new learning digest, and then we come back on the next day for session 3 on how loneliness can be tackled. So there's actually not so much literature out there on what works in tackling loneliness, because it's such a new and emerging field, but there is some, and Campaign to End Loneliness have developed a framework based on the approaches that have been shown to work elsewhere, and they've got some key principles to consider. And all of that will make a lot of sense once you know how loneliness is caused and experienced. And in particular, in that session, you'll understand where you fit in a kind of wider system of tackling loneliness, your specialisms, your USPs, but also who you might need to work with to have the most impact. And then in the last session, we're going to put all this down on paper to start developing an action plan. That might be like a new initiative that you would love to develop, or tweaks to existing work that you do to make it more airtight in terms of loneliness. So that's how the course is structured. We're delivering it twice, once in Rochdale, once in Tameside, and afterwards you go head to head. No, I'm joking. But yeah, and Nikki has kindly offered to host us in Rochdale. So that's great. We're looking forward to that. We're still haven't decided our venue in Tameside, and any idea is very welcome. And basically, the reason for having this information session is because it's quite hard to sort of sell or explain a training just by, writing it all down. So you don't know what you don't know, and you don't know why it's valuable, and it's all a bit boring to explain without visuals. So I'm going to take you through the contents of the training and then a bit about what will happen afterwards. So the first session is this introduction to loneliness. We're going to run through definitions. You'll learn about how loneliness is a subjective experience, and it's caused from a mismatch between the relationships that you desire and expect versus the reality that you're experiencing. So basically, when the quality and quantity of your relationships isn't what you need or want or expect. And then we'll go through lots of case studies to really hone that in and understand the different types of loneliness, because there are lots of different types. And also some misconceptions. So there are quite a lot of misconceptions in loneliness. Maybe some of them are things you're already familiar with, but for example, one that always sticks out to me is that people that are lonely, particularly if you're experiencing chronic loneliness, you're actually maybe often quite resistant to making new connections. So you have to really be aware of that when you're dealing with certain individuals and certain demographics. The second session is about understanding how loneliness is caused and experienced. So loneliness is caused by a negative interaction between your personal circumstances, so potentially your living situation, this kind of thing, structural factors, so aspects about how society functions that make it difficult to connect, maybe particularly for your demographic, psychological factors, so that the way that you think, the way that you approach interactions and behavior. I'm really personally really interested in that, because I've got a background in that kind of thing. And normally there's some kind of precipitating event, so a trigger that means all of these things come to a head and start, producing loneliness for the individual. And in this session, basically, we understand how these things come together and interact to prompt a downward spiral of loneliness. And as you understand the downward spiral, you as people that are supporting people in the community, you can also start to understand what an upward spiral out of loneliness might start to look like. And so then the third session is about tackling loneliness. So we'll have had a break, all of this will have sunk in, you'll probably come back with lots of ideas from everything that we've discussed in day one. And basically, the Campaign to End Loneliness have developed a framework, as I kind of mentioned, based on approaches that have worked in different parts of the country. And you can kind of use this to prioritize and structure your many ideas that will probably be coming through at this point. So the idea of the Promising Approaches framework is that lonely people need to pass through connector services to reach direct solutions that are tailored to them, and that all of that system is enabled by infrastructure and kind of a system level approaches like neighborhood approaches or asset-based approaches that kind of catalyze the whole thing. Between you and me, I'm not a massive fan of this infographic, but we had to keep it because Campaign to End Loneliness liked it. But when we go through and explain it, I think, you know, it makes a lot more sense. And it helps you identify and prioritize how you can work with other people in the area, because I know it can be pretty overwhelming when, you know, you're responsible, you feel responsible for all your beneficiaries. And then the last session is about planning your next steps. So by this point, we'll know each other really quite well. The course draws a lot on your own experiences to sort of help you create all the new knowledge, because you already know, 10 times more than you think that you know about these kind of things. And at this point, then we'll work in groups to help each other develop an action plan, have some alone time as well. And yeah, by the end, you'll end up with a thorough understanding of loneliness that you're unlikely to forget because of the way that we go through it all, and also because you'll see constant reminders in your work, a clear sense of what type of organisation you are in this system and who you need to connect with, potentially other people on the course, but potentially others who aren't on the course, and also this semi-developed action plan. So And I hope that you're going to be feeling pretty motivated and positive about that action plan, because lots of good vibes, as personalized as possible. We're talking in this really positive and enjoyable way, but we are alive to the challenges of your work, so it's not going to be toxically positive or anything like that. And also notably, because of how it's delivered, it's super interactive. We have piloted it once before, and you'll develop some lovely, warm and collaborative relationships with one another, because and potentially because you've got a much clearer sense of one another's work, that might lead to collaboration. You might know each other quite well, but not have much time together. So I hope it will be valuable in that sense as well. After the training, we'll be offering follow-up support with a CSC consultant, and that's to do whatever you want to do with that time, really. It could be to develop your action plan, or to do certain things to help get it off the ground, or to work on another aspect of organizational development that maybe is an obstacle before you can even do any of that. And the vibe of the support is going to be really hands-on, so it's going to be like having a paid consultant for free, doing at your beck and call, but it's going to be co-productive. So you're going to be working with us to co-produce whatever we produce. And we'll probably do that online to get the most out of a limited time, but we're not wedded to that idea. And then there'll also be 3 webinars. So we're doing this we're running this program in the learning program in Rochdale, Tameside, West Norfolk, and then nationally across all 3 of these areas. These areas were picked by the government. So if you're wondering why they're lumped together, that's why. But yeah, and then we're going to try and produce establish a bit of a loneliness reduction network, and create some opportunities for you to connect with funders, people from the Campaign to End Loneliness, the Red Cross. And provisionally, the themes of the webinars are the role of faith-led organisations in tackling loneliness, what works in tackling youth loneliness, and loneliness in men. But equally, depending on what comes up in the course, we can adjust those. And yeah, I really, really, really hope that you will all be able to and decide to participate. And I hope that some of the people watching the recording but not here live will also, and look forward to answering some more questions. I'll stop there because I'm sick of the sound of my own voice. I don't know about you guys.